Welcome to the world of science fiction and forgotten worlds. Alien Universe. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and never miss a new movies and story from this channel. The alien girl had been returned 17 times, 17 different worlds, 17 different families, 17 official reports that all ended with the same cold words: defective, unstable, bad investment. By the time Mara found her, the girl was not in a hospital or a shelter. She was in the recycling hold, the place where broken machines and unwanted cargo waited to be burned. A glass coffin stood in the middle of that metal graveyard, and inside it lay a child who looked too small for a universe that had already given up on her. A red countdown glowed above the coffin. Sterilization in 2 minutes. The station did not even hide what it was about to do. Fire, radiation, and silence. Mara told herself to keep walking. Salvage workers survived by ignoring problems that did not pay. But then the girl opened her eyes, just a little, and Mara heard a voice inside her head, weak and shaking. "Please don't let them burn me again." Mara stopped. She did not believe in destiny or fate, but she believed in that voice. The girl's skin was gray-blue, thin like she had not eaten properly in weeks, and faint lines of light moved under her skin like trapped starlight. Her eyes were violet, full of fear and something else, something old and tired that no child should carry. Mara looked at the label on the gloss. Property of the Collector Guild. Returned unit. Someone had scratched another message under it, deep and angry. Do not open. It knows you doubt the timer dropped under 1 minute. The station eye warned her to step back, called the child hazardous, called her cargo, called her disposable. Mara felt something hot rise in her chest. 17 returns. 17 times someone decided this girl was not worth the trouble. Mara slammed her toolkit against the release panel and started forcing the lock. Sparks jumped. The I repeated. Its warning. The blast doors at both ends of the hold began to close, sealing the chamber for sterilization. Inside the coffin, the girl watched her with wide, frightened eyes. "If you open it, they will come for you," the voice whispered. Mara did not stop. "Let them come," she muttered. The lock finally turned green. The glass split open with a hiss of freezing air. Mara grabbed the girl's arm. She was warm, alive, and trembling so badly it hurt to feel. The ceiling vents glowed white. Radiation was seconds away. Mara lifted the girl and ran. Halfway to the door, the voice screamed inside her mind. "Wait, they are already here." Mara turned and saw the air bend at the far end of the hold. A tall figure stepped out of the distortion. Wrapped in black, its chest marked with the glowing sigil of the Collector Guild. It spoke calmly, like it had all the time in the universe. "Mara Kessler, return the unit and your debts will be cleared." Mara kept running. The door controls fought her. The timer hit the final seconds, and the heat of the coming furnace burned against her back. "She's not a unit," Mara shouted. The figure's answer followed her into the closing doorway. "That is not a child. That is a shard-born." The word hit harder than the heat. Every spacer knew the stories. Living weapons. Starship killers. Walking disasters. Mara did not look back. The door slammed shut, and the fire roared on the other side. In her arms, the girl buried her face against Mara's shoulder and whispered, "Why didn't you leave me?" Mara ran through the corridor. Alarms. Screaming. Security waking up, the entire station turning against them. "Because," she said, breath shaking, "humans don't give back their kids." The girl was quiet for a moment, then asked softly, "What is a kid?" Mara tightened her grip. "It means you're mine to protect," she said. For the first time since anyone had ever taken her, the lights under the girl's skin grew brighter, not from fear, but from something new, something warm, something that had never been given to her before. And far above them, hidden in the systems of the station, ancient sensors that had been silent for centuries suddenly woke up and marked one new signal, a signal that had not appeared in the galaxy for a very long time, the signal of a shardborn, who had finally been claimed by someone who refused to return her. The alarms followed Mara all the way to her ship. Red lights flashed across the hangar, and security drones lifted from their charging racks like metal insects. Every screen on the station now carried the same message. Unauthorized biological unit, guild claim active, bounty approved. Mara ignored it and ran up the ramp of the Rust Sparrow with the girl still clinging to her jacket. Jox, Lena, and Old Ren were already waiting inside. They had heard the alarms and expected trouble, but not this. Jox stared at the glowing lines under the girl's skin and swore under his breath. Lena took one step back, her hand hovering near the emergency vent. Controls like she was ready to space the entire cargo bay if things went wrong. Ren just watched quietly, his eyes tired but calm. Mara lowered the girl onto a crate. She curled into herself, trying to take up as little space as possible, like she had learned that being small made people less angry. "She's staying," Mara said before anyone could speak. "That's guild property," Jox replied immediately. "You bring that on board, we lose every safe port in the sector." "She's not property," Mara said. "She's a shardborn," Lena added. "That's worse." The girl's glow dimmed as their voices rose. Fear rolled off her in waves, and Mara felt it in her own mind like cold water. Ren stepped forward slowly and knelt in front of the child. "Do you want to hurt anyone?" he asked gently. The girl shook her head. "I break things when I'm scared," she admitted, her voice trembling inside Mara's thoughts. Ren nodded and stood. "Then she's not a weapon," he said. "She's a frightened person with power." Before anyone could argue, the ship's proximity alarm screamed. Lena rushed to the cockpit console. "Hangar doors are locking. Security drones inbound. And there's a guild vessel docking." "Big one," Mara cursed. They were trapped. The girl suddenly grabbed Mara's sleeve. "They're angry," she whispered. "Security usually is," Mara replied. "No," the girl said. "The station." A deep metallic groan rolled through the hangar, followed by a shower of sparks from the ceiling conduits. Lena's screens filled with warning symbols. "Core feedback," she said. "If that ruptures, this whole dock goes." The girl clutched her head. "It's too loud," she cried. "The machines are screaming." Another explosion shook the bay. A massive cargo crane tore loose from its track and began to fall directly toward the Rust Sparrow. Jox shouted for everyone to brace. Mara pulled the girl close, expecting the impact. The girl screamed. The sound never reached the air. It exploded inside their minds instead, bright and sharp. Light burst from her skin in a silent wave. The falling crane stopped in midair, frozen like time had forgotten it. For a long second, nothing moved. Then the crane lowered gently to the floor, placed there by something no one could see. The light faded. The girl collapsed in Mara's arms. Silence filled the ship. Jox stared through the viewport, his face pale. She just stopped gravity. Lena shook her head slowly. No, she stopped momentum. Ren looked at Mara. "That wasn't destruction," he said. "That was control." Mara looked down at the unconscious child. A girl who could hear machines before they failed, who could catch falling steel without touching it, who had been thrown away because no one wanted the cost of protecting her. Humanity did not have technology like that. Humanity needed it. The girl stirred weakly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I break things." Mara held her tighter. "You fix them," she said. Outside, The hangar doors began to open, not because the lockdown ended, but because the guild ship had arrived and claimed priority access. Lena's console flashed a new warning. Guild enforcement team deploying. Jocks looked at Mara. That's a warship. We can't outrun that. Mara looked at the sealed launch path, then at the girl in her arms, and made her decision. We don't ask permission, she said quietly. We leave. But the bay is locked, Lena replied. Mara met her eyes. Not if she helps us, she said. For the first time, Jocks did not argue. Ren simply nodded. And the girl, still weak, looked up at Mara with fear and trust mixed together, like she had never been given a choice before. For the first time in her life, she was not being returned. Mara carried the girl into the cockpit, while the others powered up the Rust Sparrow. The ship was old, stubborn, and held together by more hope than metal, but it was the only home they had. Outside the viewport, the massive shape of the Guild. Warship blocked half the stars. Its hull was smooth and black, its lights cold and patient. It did not hurry, because it did not need to. Lena's hands moved quickly across the controls. Launch path is sealed. Station guns are slaved to Guild command. If we push engines, they'll disable us before we clear the bay. Jocks cursed under his breath and started rerouting power from cargo systems to the thrusters. We get one burst, he said. After that, we're dead in space. Mara looked down at the girl sitting in the co-pilot seat, wrapped in a blanket that was far too big for her. The glow under her skin was faint now, like embers after a fire. She looked exhausted, but her eyes were focused on the sealed hangar. Doors ahead of them. I can feel the locks, she whispered inside Mara's mind. They're layered, mechanical, magnetic, and code. Can you open them? Mara asked. The girl hesitated. I don't know. I only hear things before they break. Mara crouched in front of her. Then listen, she said softly. Find the weak part. Outside, armored figures began to deploy from the guild ship, moving across the hangar floor in perfect formation. They were not rushing. They knew the Sparrow had nowhere to go. A girl closed her eyes. The lights under her skin began to move again, slow patterns like thoughts made visible. Mara felt pressure build in her own head, a distant echo of the child's effort. There, the girl said. A misaligned field coil in the main door. It's failing, but slowly. How slow? Lena asked. Minutes, the girl replied. Too long. Jocks slammed his fist against the console. We don't have minutes. The first guild unit reached the edge of the launch zone. Its weapon systems powered up, glowing lines along its arms. A calm voice came over the comm, smooth and confident. Mara Kessler, surrender the Shardborn. Your vessel will not be harmed. Mara cut the channel. Kid, she said gently, can you make the failure happen faster? The girl's eyes opened wide. If I do, something else might break. Something big. Then we fly before it does, Mara said. The girl swallowed and nodded. She raised one trembling hand toward the sealed hangar doors. The glow beneath her skin flared brighter, symbols moving rapidly like a storm of tiny stars. The air inside. The cockpit grew heavy, humming with a sound that was not sound at all. Outside, the massive door shuddered. Magnetic clamps sparked. The misaligned coil screamed, as if the metal itself felt pain. A shockwave of blue light ran across the locking mechanism. Now, Lena shouted. Jocks pushed full power to the engines. The Rust Sparrow roared forward, its old frame shaking violently. The hangar door split open, just enough for a narrow gap. A guild unit fired. The shot hit the Sparrow's hull, tearing away a panel and sending sparks across the cockpit. Warning lights exploded into life. Jocks fought the controls, forcing the ship through the opening as the door tried to reseal. For a moment, they were wedged between metal walls and vacuum. Then they were through. Stars burst across the viewport. Lena whooped in disbelief. Jocks laughed like someone who had just cheated death and planned to do it again. Ren strapped into the jump seat and began plotting random vectors to confuse pursuit. Mara looked at the girl. She had not celebrated. She was staring out at the stars with a strange, quiet expression. "Are they still coming?" she asked. Lena checked the sensors. Her smile faded. "Yes," she said. "The warship launched 2 interceptors. And they're faster than us." Mara felt the weight of reality settle again. They had escaped the station, but not the guild. The girl's voice returned, softer now. "I'm sorry. I made them chase." "You?" Mara shook her head. "No," she said. "You gave us a chance." The child looked down at her hands. "No one ever keeps me," she said. "They always send me away when the cost becomes too high." Mara reached over and gently closed the girl's fingers into a fist. "Then they're not human," she said. The girl looked at her, confused. "What's your name?" Mara asked. "I don't have one," the girl replied. Mara smiled. "You do now," she said. "Your name is Nova." The girl repeated it slowly, like it was something fragile. Nova. And for the first time, she smiled. Behind them, the interceptors closed the distance, weapons charging. In front of them, empty space stretched wide and dangerous. Mara knew they could not outrun a warship forever. They would need a place to hide, allies to trust, and time to understand what Nova really was. But as the stars reflected in the child's violet eyes, Mara realized something else. The guild feared Nova because she was powerful. The galaxy rejected her because she was expensive. Humanity would protect her because she was theirs. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of the guild, there had to be a place where a shardborn was not a defect, not a weapon, but a future. Mara leaned back in her chair and set a course for the only place she believed that could happen, Earth. The interceptors closed in within minutes. They were faster, cleaner, and built for war, while the Rust Sparrow was a flying toolbox with an engine that complained every time it was asked to do real work. Lena pushed the thrusters anyway, sending them into a debris field left from an old mining operation. Chunks of metal and frozen rock spun slowly in the dark, forcing the interceptors to slow down. "They're hurting us," Jock said, watching the tactical display. "Driving us somewhere." "Yeah," Mara replied. Toward their warship. Nova sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat, her new name still fresh in her mind. The glow under her skin had returned, but it was different now, steadier, like she was learning how to control it. She was listening to something no one else could hear. "They're not just tracking us," she said. "They're tracking me." "That makes sense," Lena answered. "You're the most valuable thing on this ship." Nova shook her head slowly. "Not a tracker. A signal." Mara felt a chill. What kind of signal? Nova's eyes unfocused, as if she were looking far beyond the ship. "Something inside me is calling something else," she whispered. At that moment, every system on the Rust Sparrow flickered. Not failed, not damaged, just paused. The stars outside the viewport bent slightly, like light passing through thick glass. Ren leaned forward. "That's not guild tech," he said quietly. Lena checked the sensors and went pale. "We have a new contact. It wasn't there a second ago." A shape appeared ahead of them, enormous and silent. Not a ship, not exactly. It looked like a shard of black crystal drifting through space, covered in faint glowing lines that matched the patterns under Nova's skin. The interceptors immediately broke formation and pulled back. "They're retreating," Jock said in disbelief. The guild warship stopped as well, holding position at a distance. Mara stared at the crystal structure. Why would they run? Nova's voice trembled. Because they're afraid of it. The shard began to move, not with engines, but with a slow unfolding motion, like a flower opening in vacuum. Waves of energy rolled across space, gentle but powerful. Every system on the Sparrow came back online at full efficiency, the damaged hull panel sealing itself with a thin layer of hardened alloy as if repaired by invisible hands. Lena's eyes widened. It's fixing us. Nova stood up slowly, drawn toward the viewport. The glowing lines on her skin brightened, perfectly matching the patterns on the shard. I know this, she said. I've seen it in dreams. Mara stepped beside her. What is it? Nova turned, her violet eyes clearer than they had ever been. Not a weapon, not a defect. A key. Memories that were not hers alone began to surface, and Mara felt them through their connection. Ancient structures hidden between stars. Living machines older than any known civilization. A network waiting for something that had been lost. They didn't return you because you were dangerous, Mara realized. They returned you because they didn't understand you. Nova nodded slowly. I'm not a shardborn, she said. I'm a shardkeeper. The word echoed in Mara's mind, carrying meaning far beyond language. The shard outside was not a ship. It was part of a system that maintained balance across space, repairing damage, stabilizing stars, preventing catastrophic failures. A system that had gone silent long ago, and Nova was the only one who could wake it. The guild warship transmitted a message, urgent and stripped of its earlier confidence. Human vessel, withdraw immediately. That entity is classified as a precursor construct. It is not to be activated. Mara almost laughed. Too late, she said. Nova stepped closer to the viewport. The shard responded, its light intensifying. Streams of data flowed directly into her mind, not overwhelming, but guiding. She understood now why machines screamed before they failed, why systems broke around her. She had been hearing the damaged. Network calling for repair. I can help them, she said softly. I can fix what's broken. The guild warship powered its weapons, desperation replacing caution. They were not afraid of Nova as a weapon. They were afraid of losing control, of something that could repair entire sectors without their permission. They're going to fire, Lena warned. Mara placed a hand on Nova's shoulder. Can you protect us? Nova hesitated, then nodded. The warship fired a full-energy barrage. Before it reached them, the shard unfolded further. A translucent field spread across space, catching the blast and dissolving it into harmless light. The same field extended around the Rust Sparrow, warm and steady. Jock stared at the readings. That shield could tank a planetary cannon. Wren smiled faintly, and they tried to throw her in a furnace. Nova turned back to Mara. They kept sending me away because I was expensive, she said. Because I attracted this. Mara shook her head. They sent you away because they were afraid of what you could change. For the first time, the guild warship retreated completely, its engines flaring as it jumped to faster-than-light distance. Silence returned to space. The shard remained, calm and patient, waiting for Nova's next command. Mara looked at the child the galaxy had rejected 17 times and finally understood the truth. Nova was not humanity's burden. She was humanity's invitation to something greater, something older than any empire, something that could rebuild with centuries of war had broken. Where to? Lena asked quietly. Nova looked at Mara, no fear left in her eyes, only purpose. Home, she said. But not just yours, everyone's. And as the shard began to move with them, matching their course, Mara realized the biggest twist of all. Humanity had not saved Nova by accident. The network had guided her to the one species that would never return a child, no matter the cost. And that was why humanity had just become the most important ally in the galaxy. The shard moved with them like a silent guardian, its light no longer cold or distant, but steady and warm. The rust sparrow looked even smaller beside it, a patched salvage ship flying next to something older than empires. But for the first time, Mara did not feel outmatched. She felt chosen. Nova sat quietly, her hands resting on the console, eyes glowing with patterns that now made sense to her. She was no longer flinching at every alarm, no longer shrinking into herself. The fear that had followed her across 17 worlds was fading, replaced by something new, something stronger. Purpose. Lena watched the long-range scanners. Guild ships are pulling back across the sector, she said. They're issuing warnings about precursor activity. They don't want anyone near us. Jox laughed softly. For the first time, they're the ones running. Wren poured a cup of tea with hands that did not shake. Power changes who gets to be afraid, he said. Nova looked at Mara. They weren't wrong to fear me, she said. I could break things without meaning to. Mara shook her head. Everyone can break things, she replied. What matters is what you choose to build. Nova turned back to the viewport. Far ahead, Earth's sun was just a faint point of light, but the shard reacted to it, sending gentle waves through space like a greeting. Systems across nearby trade lanes began to stabilize. Old satellites woke from silent drift. A damaged cargo convoy reported that its failing reactor had suddenly corrected itself. Messages started to spread, confused and amazed. Something was fixing what no one had been able to fix. And it was following a human salvage ship. They're noticing, Lena said. Every network in range is talking about us. Good, Mara answered. Let them. Nova closed her eyes and reached out, not with fear, but with intent. The shard responded instantly, its light expanding, touching broken relays, fractured. Stations, drifting habitats. Not forcing, not controlling, just repairing, guiding, restoring balance. For centuries, the galaxy had been held together by fragile systems and fragile agreements. Now something ancient was awake again, and it had chosen to listen to a child who had once been labeled defective. Nova opened her eyes. It doesn't belong to me, she said. It listens to me, but it belongs to everyone. It was waiting for someone who wouldn't use it to rule. Wren smiled. That would explain why it chose a human crew, he said. Mara crossed her arms. We don't have the organization to rule a planet properly, let alone a galaxy. Jox nodded. But we're good at fixing junk. Nola laughed softly, the sound small but real. It was the first time any of them had heard her laugh. A transmission came through, not from the guild, not from any government, but from dozens of civilian channels at once. Traders, miners, station crews, people who had nothing but old ships and hard lives. They were thanking the unknown vessel that had stabilized their failing systems, that had saved their cargo, that had prevented disasters they did not even know were coming. They did not know Nova's name. They did not know Meraz. They only knew that somewhere out there, someone had helped them without asking for payment. Nova looked at Mara. They're not afraid, she said, almost in wonder. Most people aren't, Mara replied. Not when you help instead of hurt. The shard's light dimmed slightly, settling into a steady glow as if it had found its place. It no longer loomed over the rust sparrow. It traveled beside it, equal, a partner, rather than a master. Earth grew larger in the viewport. Blue oceans, white clouds, a fragile world that had survived its own long history of mistakes. Nova watched it in silence. This is where you come from, she said. Yeah, Mara answered. Will they send me away too? Mara reached over and took her hand. No, she said. On Earth, you won't be returned. You'll be enrolled. In school, you'll eat too much, you'll make friends, and you'll complain about homework like every other kid. Nova blinked. Homework? It's terrible, Jocks added. You'll hate it. Nova smiled again, brighter this time. Behind them, across the sector, the guild retreated further, their influence shrinking as more systems stabilized without their control. Power built on scarcity was fading in the presence of something that created abundance. Humanity did not become the strongest species that day. It became the most trusted. Because when the galaxy tried to throw a child into a furnace, a human picked her up and called her family. As the rust sparrow entered Earth's orbit, Nova felt the shard network, stretching across the stars, alive again, patient and ready. It did not need a ruler. It needed a caretaker, someone who had known fear and rejection and still chose kindness. Mara looked at the planet below, and then at the girl beside her. 17 returns had led to this moment. 17 times the galaxy had said no, until one human had said yes. Welcome home, Nova, she said. And for the first time in her life, the girl who had been labeled defective, unstable, and unwanted answered with absolute certainty. Home, she repeated. The shard's light spread softly across Earth's orbit, not as a shield, not as a weapon, but as a promise. The universe had thrown her away. Humanity had kept her. And because of that, the future had changed.